Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tortured Soul, and we are at Little Big Beat Studios. One. You guys ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. My name is John Christian Urich. I am originally from New York City. I grew up on the Upper West Side and lived in New York for a few decades before I recently moved to Los Angeles.
I'm Ernest McKone, and I grew up in London. I'm still in London, predominantly North London. There was always a great music scene there around Camden Town, Highgate around there, quite a good soul and funk scene, so I got straight into it at a young age, and I'm still there doing it. I love it.
Yeah, that's right, I'm gonna show you the light.
My name is Isamu MacGregor, and I grew up, born and raised in Los Angeles. There's a town called La Crescenta, which is in the northern part of LA. And then went to New York for about just over 10 years for school, and then stayed there after. And then just earlier this year moved back to LA. So kind of sort of come full circle now. But the two places I've lived are completely opposite in style and in everything, but I like them both. So it's been nice.
One of the things that I remember growing up in New York City is watching the street drummers, the guys that had buckets and bells and garbage can lids and whatever sounded cool. And there's one guy in particular that I remember that would play and be like, like yelling at the same time. And I thought that was great. I thought it was amazing. I also, did some like drumming, and like I had a rap group with my friend Adam Rafferty for a while, and I wanted to do both. I wanted to rap and play the drums, so that kind of like started the ball rolling to sing and play the drums at the same time. So.
Your love tonight. Keep it tight, I'm gonna show you the light. 'Cause I'm hot for your love.
I typically refer to it as live, deep, soulful house music. That's kind of a way to describe it. It's very influenced by disco, classic R&B and soul, and as well, house music has some influence in the sound. It's kind of very much like disco because we're a live band. But in order to give it some placement in today's modern categorization system in the music industry, we call it live, deep, soulful house music. Yes, we all play our own instruments. We do productions where we use drum machines and samples and all kinds of different techniques to get the right sound. But when it comes to playing live, I think what gives us the most joy and what allows the most freedom for the sort of highest levels of energy is being a purely live band where I feel like samples and loops can kind of constrict what you do sometimes. You're always sort of tethered to an exact tempo or an exact feel. Like if you feel like playing a little faster or a little slower, you can't, because it becomes a mess. And so if you read the room where it feels like everybody wants to get a little faster, then you get a little faster, and it's like, and it adds flavor and just sort of it makes the experience more unique and good. Yeah.
But I'm not tired. Every time I'm out with you, girl, I feel inspired.
we trust each other. We don't, it's like if one of us was pushing a little bit more, then we'll go with it. If we're, like we find a place where we feel comfortable and it feels like the groove is right. If you have a click track, then everybody's going to be, defaulting to that, the click, and that might not work. So
I think as a musician, especially, whether you're playing or listening to live musicians playing live music and interacting with each other, then that's definitely going to come across as more interesting. You were saying that maybe people hear a certain sound, a photoshopped sound, an auto-tuned sound on the radio, for example, and regular people, musicians or non-musicians, maybe they hear that and they think that that's what good music is supposed to sound like, and they get used to hearing that on the radio, So then a lot of them, when they go to a show, that's what they expect. But, what we're doing is not that approach. I'm not saying we don't want it to sound good. We want it to sound good, but it needs to have that live energy, and it needs to have that kind of interaction, and that's what people in the audience, they can latch on to that. If they're just listening to something that sounds perfect, then it's just, there's a bit of a distance, but people want to see musicians working together. They want to see dips and valleys and everything, and I think that's what makes it a full experience rather than just going to listen to some music. Yeah, so there are definitely plenty of bands and artists and musicians that prefer to have a lot of backing tracks. They want it to sound perfect, they want it to sound full, but then I've played in other situations where I'm playing more like that. There are samples and there's a click track, but my mindset is completely different. I had after one sound check, I had a sound person come up to me and ask, so when you're playing these kind of gigs, do you feel more like you're working in an office? And I was a little depressed and I said, I think you're right. And you want it to be good, but it's just, there's so many things that are not musical about that kind of music. And if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But sometimes the detail can be a little, it can be a little too much, and you forget about making the music and making the energy of the music when you're just trying to reproduce the sound.
You need it, babe. Gives your life new meaning. You don't know why you're still sad, hey.
How is it for me to play bass in this band? It's easy because the groove is good. And for me, it's about what the drums are doing, first and foremost. If I turn up for a show or a gig, I maybe don't know the band, and the drummer's not good, it doesn't matter how good I am, we're done for. But if you've got a good drummer and you've got a good groove, it makes it all work. So for me, it's a hell of a lot easier having this guy playing the drums. So yeah, I think especially you talk about samples and hard drives and so on and so forth. I think first and foremost, this is my belief, is that if the groove is right, you can just have the two of us and it would be okay. If the groove is not right, you can have hard drive samples, 10 backing vocals, 6 horns. It's still, people say there's something not quite right. I don't want to dance to this for some reason. It's all about the groove for me. And I think that's the key thing in this band. I think it has a great groove. And if you're doing disco music or house music, you've got to have that as far as I'm concerned. So for me, it's easy. I can play quite minimal stuff if I want to, and it still sounds full because it's sitting on something that works. And I think that helps to sort the sound out as well, If you've got a good groove, it always sounds better as well, So that's my take on it. It's easy.
Do I have experience with analog tape? I do. I've been in this business for a long time and started recording on analog tape. So 4 tracks, 8 tracks, tape cassettes, and then on to 2-inch tape in bigger studios. ADATs, which was I guess digital, and then it's gotten to where it is now, where mostly things are digital, and it's really exciting to be coming back and getting such a nice full sound. In particular, on the drums and the bass, like it's pretty. It's subtle, but it's not even that subtle. It's kind of a world of difference, and it's really fun. It's just like listening to the rough takes is it's very inspiring. We're very happy about that. Yeah.
Think you gotta break control. Yeah, but one more time, you're gonna call it back soon.
When we first looked at Little Big Beat Studios, we saw some of the videos online that you've recently put up, and the experience looked like it was going to be really fun. You know, like this sort of intimate thing with everybody in the same room. I wasn't totally sure exactly how good the sound quality was going to be, because it seemed partially about the experience, but it sounds amazing. I mean, you guys have obviously done your work, and there's a lot of amazing equipment here. So it's the production value, with or without the concept of it being a concert, is really amazing. So yeah, we're psyched.
Tell you what to do, she's so hard to say goodbye to.
What do we think about the idea of these studio live sessions with the cameras, the recording, with a live audience? It's no pressure at all. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, to be honest, but it totally, once we start, we know that the adrenaline is going to kick in, that everything sounds great, that it's going to be a very unique experience. We're excited to see how it goes. We're sure that it's going to be great.
Thank you for coming out tonight. On bass, Ernest McKone. On guitar, Rafferty. On keys, Isamu MacGregor. I'm John Christian Urich on drums and vocals. Thank you very much. We're Tortured Soul. Thank you, Little Big Beat Studios. It's beautiful here.